What makes a conflict an armed conflict by law? Imagine a situation where fighting suddenly breaks out, but no one officially declares war. How do we decide if this situation is legally an armed conflict? That's what we're here to find out. Under international humanitarian law, an armed conflict is not about formal declarations or political labels. It's about what's happening on the ground. If there is sustained armed violence between parties, it triggers specific legal rules meant to protect people and regulate warfare. This means the conflict must involve continuous fighting, not just a few skirmishes. The key is the presence of actual hostilities. If two or more parties are engaged in ongoing violence, even if they have not declared war, it counts as an armed conflict. The law looks at facts like how intense the fighting is and whether the groups involved are organized enough to carry out sustained violence. There are two main types of armed conflicts. The first is international armed conflict, which happens between two or more states. This includes declared wars, military occupations, and wars of liberation against colonial or racist regimes. It's important to note that whether a war is officially declared does not matter. What matters is whether fighting is happening between states. The second type is non-international armed conflict. This involves fighting within a single country, usually between government forces and organized armed groups. For this to be classified as an armed conflict, the violence must be serious and prolonged, and the groups involved need to be organized enough to carry out sustained fighting. The reason this classification matters is because it activates legal protections. Once a situation qualifies as an armed conflict, rules from the Geneva Conventions and other international laws kick in. These rules protect civilians from attack, requiring combatants to distinguish themselves from civilians and restrict certain weapons and tactics. So, when do we say a conflict is an armed conflict by law? When there is a factual situation of ongoing, organized violence between parties. It doesn't depend on whether a formal war has been declared. If fighting reaches a certain level of intensity and organization, it becomes an armed conflict under international law. This classification helps ensure that protections are in place for those caught in the fighting and that rules are followed to limit suffering.